Good morning. A few weeks ago, the United States and Israel launched strikes on Iran. For weeks now, everyone's been glued to the news, doomscrolling, panicking, watching for nuclear escalation, including me. I couldn't stop checking every hour, every alert, and I get it. The fear is real. But sitting here in Cambodia, watching everyone panic, I kept thinking about history, because this isn't the first time we've been this close. This is the fourth time in my lifetime that we've come within hours or days of nuclear war. And every single time, the same thing happened. Cooler heads prevailed. So today, I want to tell you about the other 3 times we nearly ended the world. Not to minimize what's happening now, but to give you perspective, and maybe to get you and me to stop doomscrolling. October 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Let me start with the closest call we've ever had. October 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Most people know the basic story. Soviet Union put nuclear missiles in Cuba. Kennedy ordered a blockade. 13 days of brinkmanship. But here's the part most people don't know. The moment we came closest to ending the world. October 27, 1962, a US Navy destroyer was tracking a Soviet submarine near Cuba. The submarine had been underwater for days, out of contact with Moscow. The destroyer started dropping depth charges to force it to surface. Inside the submarine, the crew thought they were under attack. They thought war had begun. Soviet submarines carried nuclear-tipped torpedoes. The protocol: if 3 officers agreed, they could launch without asking Moscow. 2 of the 3 officers agreed to launch. The 3rd officer was Vasily Arkhipov. He refused. He convinced the other 2 to surface instead. 1 man, 1 decision. That's how close we came. If Arkhipov hadn't been on that submarine, nuclear war probably would have started that day. But cooler heads prevailed. September 1983, Stanislav Petrov. Fast forward to 1983. NATO was running a military exercise called Able Archer 83. To Soviet systems, it looked like preparation for a real nuclear attack. The Soviets were on high alert. Then, on September 26th, the Soviet early warning system detected 5 US nuclear missiles inbound. The system was new. It was supposed to be reliable. Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov was on duty. Protocol was clear. If missiles detected, report immediately. Petrov had minutes to decide. If he reports it, Soviet leadership launches before the missiles hit. World War III begins, but something didn't make sense. If the US was launching a first strike, why only 5 missiles? Why not hundreds? He made a call. False alarm. He was right. Computer glitch. Sunlight reflecting off clouds. But he couldn't have known that when he decided. He went with his gut. He trusted his judgment over the computer. 1 man, 1 decision. Cooler heads prevailed. January 1995, the Norwegian rocket. You'd think by 1995, with the Cold War over, these close calls would stop. They didn't. January 25, 1995. Norway launched a scientific research rocket to study the aurora. They had notified Russia through diplomatic channels, but the message didn't reach the Russian radar operators. Russian radar detected what looked like a US submarine-launched nuclear missile. At 3 a.m., they woke up President Yeltsin. They activated the nuclear briefcase. Russian forces on high alert. Yeltsin had less than 10 minutes to decide whether to launch. The military was telling him, this looks like a decapitation strike. Protocol says, launch immediately or lose the ability to respond. But as they tracked the trajectory, they realized it was heading out to sea. At the last moment, they identified it as a research rocket. Stand down. Minutes away from launching. Cooler heads prevailed. February 2026 now. And then, a few weeks ago, it happened again. The United States and Israel launched strikes on Iran. The goal? Destroy Iran's nuclear program before they could build weapons. Iran retaliated, closed the Strait of Hormuz, attacked Gulf states. Oil hit $120 a barrel. The world was watching. Everyone was doom-scrolling. Analysts debating whether this would go nuclear. Social media full of panic. End of the world content. And I was doing it too. Couldn't stop checking the news. And then I realized, what's the point? What I learned from panicking. I was doom-scrolling just like everyone else. Every hour, every alert. Nuclear war, oil prices, World War III scenarios. And then I asked myself, what am I actually accomplishing? I'm watching things I can't control. I'm panicking about something that, if history's any guide, probably won't happen. 4 times in my lifetime, we've come very close to nuclear war. 1962, Cuban Missile Crisis. 1 submarine officer away. 1983, false alarm. 1 Russian officer's judgment. 1995, Norwegian rocket. Minutes from launch. 2020, Iran war, fear of nuclear escalation. Every single time the same thing happened. We came close. Very close. and then we didn't do it. That's the pattern. So here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to stop doomscrolling. It's hard. The pull is strong, but it doesn't help. The Iran war is still happening. It could escalate. It might not. But either way, staring at the news doesn't change it. So I'm trying to focus on what's real, what's around me, what I can actually observe and control. I don't know what tomorrow brings. Maybe more escalation, maybe a ceasefire. But I do know this. Stop doomscrolling about nuclear war. I'm trying to stop too. It doesn't help. History shows us we keep coming close, and cooler heads keep prevailing. Focus on what's real, what's around you, what you can control. That's all. Thank you for watching.